Lou, thank you. And I'm going to shock Jim, try to keep it a little tighter this morning, understanding the schedule. And Lou has promised to just pull on my pants leg when it's time. I got a few things I do want to share with you, but I've got some recognitions myself. First, I'd like to bring the best wishes for a successful convention to you from your General Secretary Treasurer, Tom Miller. I don't know if you'll be airing or not Tom's message. He'll speak for himself, but Tom also an incredible journey in this IAFF, 41 years, serving at every level of our union, local, state, district, and now as the General Secretary Treasurer. Tom's decided to take his retirement after his great journey, and he's not quite up to traveling as much as he used to, but he certainly will be speaking to you, I guess, a little later today, and I want to make sure that I express on his behalf the best wishes to you for continued success and all the sacrifice and work that you're doing. I want to recognize my friend of 44 years, Jim Ferguson. A lot's going to be said about Jim along the way over the next many months, and there'll be, I'm sure, much more said about him when we gather in Vegas for our international convention. Jim and I started our friendship and our journey in this IAFF together in 1972 in Los Angeles at our first international convention. And I, too, have learned to admire his strength and his trade union principles, a guy that is certainly not only tough, but resilient. He's someone that has been of great support and friendship to me. I always could depend on and do depend on Jim. He tells it like it is. He cuts right through. He doesn't go along to get along. He'll sometimes throw that question out just at the wrong time to catch you short. But all of that he does on behalf of all of you and the 44,000 members that he represents across this great 10th district. So Jim, you have earned your legacy. And you are a living legend. And everyone in this district, but really across this international, has been blessed to have you as part of our leadership. Thank you for everything you've done for this IAFF. And I just want to, Jim, I'm glad you had a chance to chat with him. Jim's part of the leadership team. I talk about the table. You own chairs at the table. Every district, 16 districts, own a chair at that table. And those are the chairs that are filled by our executive board and those that are committed to making sure that we grow this international, increase its effectiveness, represent our members that are out on the front line every day, trying to simply make a difference in their lives and livelihood. I appreciate our board so much. They are literally 16 of the best because every district sends their very best to sit in that chair. And so, Jim, to you and to all of our colleagues on the executive board, thank you for what you do. You're a great leader. And Tony, they talk about, we mentioned the almost $66 million budget. That's our members' money. They pay the freight. They want to make sure that those resources are invested in them. This is not about us. This is about them. And those dollars need to be managed, cared for, invested in a financial sense, and then invested in real terms of resources and services and tools to make that difference and to give you, all of you, the local leadership that's really responsible for the very difficult work in this union, in the trenches every day, negotiating the agreements, administering the contracts, taking care of our members on the front lines, fighting government when they're trying to shut down a company, brown them out, shutter up a station, or cut our staffing on our rigs. No, all that work you're doing, that $66 million is to make sure that we provide you with the very best that allows you the best chance to be successful. And as Edzo said, to advance that ball down the field on behalf of our members. And to make sure that money is being managed well. And to make sure there is transparency. Make sure it's cared for and reported on are our trustees. And I can tell you that they do an extraordinary work. And you're represented by one that is serious, takes his responsibility and sees it through, doesn't worry about what feathers may be ruffled to make sure that those books are solid, the investments are well made, the money is properly spent, and that is overseen by one of your own, Tony Mejia. Tony, thank you for everything you do on behalf of our IAFF. There he is. I couldn't see with the lights. There he is. And I'd really be remiss if I didn't. I know we talk about the now, and we talk about the future, and we talk about those of us that are given these privileges to hold the office that each of us hold, and we talk about what we're going to do and what we want to do and what we should do, but we've got to make sure we remember that everything that we do ultimately standing on the shoulders of those that preceded us. Those that fought the battles, those that had the initial and great creativity and ideas, those that showed innovation in a time when innovation may have not been recognized as a strong component of being a trade union. To understand how to build a union in so many ways, to be so effective on so many levels. A lot's been said about the CPF along the way. I'm going to talk about you in a second. That's why you can't pull on my pants leg yet. And the CPF is known throughout the United States and Canada as the premier, and I would say this, and I say this with other state bodies and provincial bodies, the premier state council, state body in this IAFF. There's no question about that. There's absolutely no question about that. But it didn't just happen. It happened because there was a vision about taking a state body that, quite frankly, was in trouble. And the truth of the matter is, in some ways, was in desperate measures. And took it over and not only began to build a state organization of competence, but to really have that vision, to be able to, use the talents and see the importance of creating production and studios when even international unions didn't do so, to recognize how to capture the power statewide and to advance the work and the profession of our members by maybe putting them through an effective apprenticeship program. So many ideas, so many innovations. That's what this CPF has become, but it all started and over so many years was created by someone with his own legacy and is a legend, and that's Dan Terry. Dan, you're an incredible leader. Thanks for everything you've done for this IAFF and our members all across this state. And Edzo, you're going to do just fine. And you said it all, and you are a leader in yourself. And I don't want to get ahead of the game, but I've known to kind of step out in the past. I'm confident you're going to do great work, and start another part of your journey for this IAFF. And I look forward to that happening in Vegas. And then Lou and Lou. The good one or the bad one, what's the good one, the bad Lou, the good Lou, I don't know. Is it two Lou's? You're the good Lou, I know. You are the good Lou. No, really. To both of you, to the executive board, I always have time to spend time with when I'm out here. What can I say? You know, you're running the premier organization. Lou Paulson, you're not only recognized by your members in leadership, you're recognized by your peers. All those across North America. Every state and provincial body that says who's going to lead us? Who do we want speaking on behalf of all of us? And along with Pete Carrozza, they chose you. And I think that says a lot about not only who you are, but the incredible leadership that you've been providing here in California over the years, but you've also been recognized and providing it all across this state. You lead the nation in your political action. You face some of the biggest issues. You mentioned a couple of ballot measures. You have found a way to win almost virtually always. Losing is not in your wheelhouse. You understand how to make the investments and how to push out the programs. I watch in amazement what all of you have been doing. And I think that you need to take nothing less than pride in that. I'm not going to go down your legislative program. You're going to be talking about that here. But I do know what you're doing as far as tuition for your children, for those that die in the line of duty, from occupational diseases. I know what you're doing with flame retardants and the toxic issue that's killing our people and killing them, years and years later, but killing them just as much as going through the floor on a two-alarmer. I know what you're doing in trying to extend your workman's comp on job-related. Your entire legislative program is always focused on our members and their future, and you do an incredible job. So I just want to say, I've always recognized your work. I appreciate all of your leadership. Our members all across this great state benefit by it. Congratulations on a job well done. Let me just try to say a couple of things. And I know I get I'd love to say a lot. But I'm going to try like hell, to keep it tight. But I want to make sure you know that your IAFF is strong. And it is in not only good shape, it's in great shape. And it's not just in good shape financially. It's our international union, yours. It's all of us together that has found a way to buck all the trend lines that's happening all across this country with America's labor movement. We've been seeing decades of decline, union membership in virtually every sector of our workforce. We've seen the labor movement almost not being entitled to be called a movement. Not when in the private sector you only represent 7% of workers. 7% of private sector workers hold a union card now. If you take all the sectors together, including the public sector, of which obviously we're a part of, it's 13%. 13% of American workers understand the power and the importance and quite frankly, the privilege of being able to hold a union card that does so much to set the stage for everybody else. It is the movement that lifts all of the boats. And at a time when we're seeing a continued decline in union density, some describe it as the market share, we have found a way to continue to grow. We found a way to hold on to our own during the most desperate and deepest recession since the Great Depression, when jobless rates were going sky high. And yeah, we were losing, our ranks on the street, layoffs and shutdowns, attritions. But the fact is that we had strategies and ideas and ways to try to react to that and to keep us strong. We use federal programs like a SAFER program. When we talk about a Congress that can't get anything done, well, we found a way to get a Congress to put $1.4 billion on the street and save 13,400 jobs, and to bring our members back to work, and to let them put their turnouts on a rig again. And the fact of the matter is that this IAFF continues to grow. We represent 84% of the professional firefighters and emergency medical professionals in the public sector. 84% of our workforce is a member of the IAFF. In Canada, it's 90%. And in the regards to continuing to grow, I just met with the Montreal Executive Board in Ottawa on Monday. We've been having discussions for almost a year. They were part of this IAFF a little over 30 years ago. And I'm just not going to get too ahead of the game, but they're going to their General Assembly with a recommendation. They'll be going to their membership with a vote. And I believe that in early June, we will see the return of almost 4,000 members from Quebec, Montreal, and the cities around Quebec that'll be back home and a part of this IAFF again. And as far as operating on a high level, yeah, Congress is a do-nothing Congress. Yeah, Congress is absolutely in gridlock. Yes, partisanship is more visceral than I've certainly ever seen. The headlines are always about what it can't get done. The headlines are always about who's trying to block, who's saying no, who's voting no, who's running a veto. But I tell you what you've been able to do. Together, we've been able to, keep our focus, use our political principle of if you're with us, we're with you, and we don't care what side of the aisle you come. And against all the prognosticators, against all the pundits, against all the expectations, we together work to make sure that the thousands of members who worked on that horrific pile in the south end of Manhattan in 2001, who worked for the days and days of rescue and the weeks of recovery and the months of, reconstruction, are now going to be covered for life by the extension of the Zadroga bill that passed in December when everybody said, no, it can't happen. We said, yes, it can, and now it is law again. So let me just leave you with this. Political action, I really wanted to talk about PTSD. I guess I don't have time. No, I'm going to give a minute to it. It's the most serious, I believe, health-related issue we're dealing with right now, behavioral health. We are not only focused on it, we're developing the protocols, we're developing the diagnostics, we're identifying the treatments, and we're actually now in discussions and working on maybe one of the first IAFF-branded clinics that'll be focused potentially and almost solely on not just post-traumatic stress, but operational stress, and then all of that which unfortunately is layered on top of the troubles and the challenges our members have, like the rest of society: alcohol, drugs, financial crisis, domestic affairs, except layered over that is the work you do. And yes, we're focused on that, more than focused, standing up a department, developing a peer counseling program, and we're going to be responding to what is an injury that oftentimes can't be seen, and an injury that too often our members aren't prepared or willing to come forward to seek help with. And yes, we're going to continue our work in the WUI sense. We're going to continue our technical work. We're going to create GIS in a 4D version so that it'll give you even more power at the bargaining table. There is so much going on, but this is all going to come back to our work in the political arena, every level of government. We're going to be working with you and investing to make sure Kamala Harris becomes the next U.S. Senator from California. We're going to be investing in our state bodies. We're going to be investing in gubernatorial races. We're going to continue to pivot. where 4 years ago, 90% of our Fire PAC money only went to congressional and presidential elections, and this last cycle, 54% of it went out here, and we'll continue to grow that, to be able to invest and be engaged on the ground where the battles really are existing. We're going to use that political arena to advance our agenda. And yes, we're going to be meeting later this spring to discuss exactly what our next steps will be in the presidential election cycle. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to do. But I want to leave you with two thoughts. One, that you're part of a union, and you are the union, that is doing incredible work against all the odds in so many ways and winning so many more battles than the few that we sometimes lose. And the final thought I want to leave you with is a brief point of personal privilege. It's been mentioned where I started my journey, a 20-year-old kid on the job. Yeah, a young local union president that literally didn't know what the hell he was doing in the beginning. To be able to be given this extraordinary opportunity to be a part of this IAFF at so many levels and over such a long period of time. To be given that chance to be helped to build this union. Al Whitehead to have the confidence to allow me to be a partner with him in bringing this union to another level. And then you allowing me in 2000 to entrust with me to be a part of the leadership team to let's take this union to the next level. I told you in Chicago when you gave me this extraordinary moment that I could have never, ever even imagined as a young firefighter, IAFF leader so many years before, that you'd always know where to find me. I'd be taking care of business. I'm not a very funny guy. My social skills are often challenged. But what I do is I do the work that I can on behalf of this great union of ours. I'm serious about that work, and I'm putting myself forward in Vegas if you allow me to continue that work. I'm asking not only for this great state body's support, I appreciate my friend being co-chair of the campaign, but I am asking every single local affiliate here for your support, your consideration to allow me to continue that work and to continue that journey. I got lots of energy. I get up every day ready to go. I still have a head full of ideas, and I'd be so privileged if you'd allow me the time to continue to pursue some of them on behalf of the 301,000 men and women of this great union. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great convention.